Good morning and welcome to Wednesday, a hazy, smoke-filled Colorado day. If your eyes are itchy and your nose is running, welcome today. Last night we had another of our gratitude groups and learned a little bit more about gratitude as Diana Butler Bass from her writings. Sorry, sort of losing my train of thought. There's a bunch of little kids coming over for their first week of preschool and a lot of crying. So one of the things she said is that becoming more attentive makes you more appreciative. And so beginning to notice our gifts and being more intentional about expressing gratitude. So when you're more attentive, that means your attention widens and you notice even more gifts and become more appreciative. That gratitude becomes contagious. Gratitude increases gratitude, which again, as we've said before, improves our mood and makes us more satisfied and makes us realize we need less. And so how do you become more attentive? And that was the sort of focus of our time together, is developing cues. And we use those cues to become more attentive. So people in the group shared some of their own cues. Might be apps on their phone, or a rock in their pocket, or a desk, or when you get to a stoplight, that's a cue to give thanks. And one of the ideas was to keep a notebook, and Susan specifically noted a Levenger notebook, which is a very, very nice and fancy thing. And many of us find journaling satisfying to a certain extent, but not for a long term. And so Martha had this idea, or actually not an idea, something she does, is she writes 5 lines every day in a notebook, and then and that day is that page, and then the next day is another page. But then at the end of the year, you come back to that page and see what you wrote as your 5 lines, and add another 5 lines, and then add another, so that you're keeping track of your gratitude from year to year. We all thought, what a great idea. So this morning I went on to Amazon to look for one of those Levenger notebooks. They're like $50. So thought, well, what about just a notebook with paper, lined paper? And so I looked on my shelf. I said, I know I've got those kind of things. And so I found an old notebook from 1989 when I was studying in Washington, D.C., the intersections of theology and public policy. And I went through my notes. The first thing I did is I turned to Bangladesh, visiting the embassy of Bangladesh, and it was so notable compared to all the places we went, because this poor country served all of us Kool-Aid in little tiny red cups, and it just, it made an impression that I remember 30 years later. I looked back on the other notes and saw how we had met with lots of different groups, from the U.S. Civil Rights Commission to the Congressional Black Caucus, met at the Supreme Court, and actually did get to meet Harry Blackmun, the World Bank and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the National Right to Life, and the Christian Marxist Dialogue, and took notes on all those things. How fascinating. But it was the pages about Bangladesh that made me go, yeah, gratitude. Gratitude. This incredibly poor country was so grateful we were there to hear their story, that they were the only of all the embassies we visited to share their hospitality with us. So just some thoughts on gratitude. The more we notice our things that we're grateful for, the more grateful we become. And I hope that you have a grateful day. Bye.